fill out the pre-application for that, and deal with all the things that are involved with the DEC. So the process itself can go from, getting the permits, the appropriate regulations, that it can take some time. According to Sea Grant, it's not unusual for a permit to take around a year to gain approval. But I guess we gotta decide what exactly is our vision for the beach, because I don't know what is currently being discussed. But when we think about the potential for that beach, are we just talking, dumping sand on it, or are we talking about restoring it?
Okay.
And if we don't establish sort of where we sit there, then, I don't know if we're just throwing money at it to make it look nice per season, when we can do what other villages do, and they get a lot of grant money to do it, and put something that's a lot more permanent and a lot more healthy for the sound and everything that's there. So I guess we gotta decide kind of where we're going with that.
Well, maybe the best thing would be to bring all the people in and do a weekly meeting and say, okay, you know what, let's do this meeting and start discussing what the plan's gonna look like, who's gonna, and go from there, because that looks like that's a big project, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we can use the stuff from Nelson Pope and Boys that Bill's got to use as the layout for, the site work stuff,
Right.
and what the village is about, and the history and all that, so we don't have to do it twice. You know
That's what
I
I'm
mean?
saying. I'd
Okay.
rather condense this into some process.
May I
that's
interject?
Yes.
You do not have a beach.
Oh, that's right.
shorefront.
Sure.
Shorefront.
You have
And
a
it's-
beach, and you call it a beach, you must,
We'll call it what they call it
you
down
must
at
put in
Patchogue.
sanitary facilities for male and female. with
Right, I'm not
running
talking, I'm
water.
sorry, I'm not talking a beach with bathrooms, I'm talking
We've gone
a
through this
shorefront.
before.
Yeah,
Somebody blew a whistle to the Suffolk County Board of Health, and they came in here and chewed butt. We do not have a beach.
right, so again, looking at a way to have coastal resilience
Okay.
is more of what
Park.
I'm looking at.
Shoreline Park.
Shoreline Park, and that's exactly what they call it in Patchogue. And they got it done, and it's wonderful, it's not a beach, and it's all excellent for the South Shore bays. There are companies that are out there doing it, and you can get a lot of grant money for it, So there's we have options there, it's just a matter of getting it on a page to do it.
Rich, I'm glad you're here. We had just talked and we had a rough idea of what could be done. But we never really had it written up, drawn to scale, done anything that, and could we agree that that's gonna be more or less the blueprint we're gonna follow, and then at least maybe have a real plan drawn up that we can then go and present to people?
Well,
I
we would
think-
need we need a landscape
Yeah, we do.
design architect to do that.
And they're doing that with
Okay.
Bill.
But who agrees,
Stuff.
ultimately, who agrees, I mean, you and I were pretty much in agreement about what could be done. And depending, I remember you talked about having a wall separate the street from, the final, we'd have to have a final decision that would probably even come to a vote or something, that would have a separate committee.
It's gonna cost money, so
To have
it will cost a vote.
an agreement about what we would like to see. And, sometimes you get into the negotiation after that about what's feasible and what could be paid for. But, we really don't have, other than discussions and ideas in our mind. So it seems to me that we should proceed in that regard, and I don't know how to do that. whether that
Well, I
requires-
think we'll pick
I think you're right.
a
We
date
should
for
get
a
the
working
groups
meeting,
together.
get the people that are working on it and say, let's sit down and start working on this. Okay. I'll email you some, and you can let me know when the season's through and we have, right, okay.
Yeah, I'd love to get along with those guys and see what they're looking at, I'd love to see what's going on.
Maybe one day we'll meet down there, I'll show you, we did the same thing, and just talk about what we thought could usually be done. I don't know if it's the best design in terms of the design element, but we think what could be done from the other shore of that beach.
Yeah, I think the ideas are great. I think until we get someone in here to really price out what those ideas cost, I think it's hard to really wrap my head around it.
Okay, so, second meeting date. Okay, you were gonna work on the definitions for 183?
Yes. I can actually go through it, because there's not that many changes. As we talked about the last meeting, it's very tedious, and Joe, you even said, probably going back and forth between one. So, I printed them out, but what Okay, this is the amended thing, and I printed out what is presently the definition, so I could tell you what the old version would be and what my recommendation is for a change. So, the very first one is, I'll go through, you have the A's and then you get to the B's. Building accessory, and that's a simple change, it goes to 144 square feet.
Okay.
And that's straightforward, that's a simple change. Dwelling one family. The old one was, one or more persons related by blood, marriage, or adoption, living and cooking together, exclusive of household servants. And initially, I just changed that, I think I mentioned that last meeting, changed that to paid domestic employees. But then I thought, do we really need all of that? And it could just be a dwelling, one family, detached building designed for and occupied exclusively by one family doing its own cooking. Isn't that a definition that is used widely? The definition of one family doing its own cooking?
It's close, yes. I mean, it's more or less, give or take a few words.
That's the rub, though.
Yeah.
Because
I
what
mean,
they,
we're getting,
I'll read the existing, I'll read the whole thing. Go ahead. Exclusively by one family doing its own cooking, not used as a so-called, quote, model house, quote, for promoting. I don't know what.
yeah, so cooking together probably isn't right. It's basically living as a family, living as a family unit, or living as a unit. It's not based on cooking. I would probably take out the cooking.
Okay, just one family living as a unit,
No, it's,
but then they define
what are we
family.
defining dwelling?
Dwelling one family, because then the very next one is family. And I'll read it, that one or more persons related by blood, marriage, or adoption, living and cooking together, exclusive, oh, this is the one where paid, exclusive of paid domestic employees, that's my change. Semicolon, a number of persons living together as a single housekeeping unit, although not related by blood, adoption, or marriage, shall be deemed to constitute a family unit. And that's what is in there now.
Yeah, so
I think
this
that's
is-
widely used.
If you look at the Brookhaven section, the Brookhaven definition, that's basically what is the litigation, what's been accepted after years of litigation.
Right.
So it's basically, there's presumptions in there and things like that, so it's different from what you just said. I would for family, I would just copy whatever Brookhaven's is,
That's pretty much what this is.
or I could do that for you.
This wasn't changed. Family I didn't change. The one before it is dwelling one family. You have it, first you have
So
dwelling.
then I would just say dwelling is a living place for one for one family.
Well, I didn't change dwelling. This is what we have in the code right
Yeah.
now. A building designated or used exclusively as living quarters and shall not be deemed to include motel, hotel, rooming house, or tourist home, bed and breakfast, mobile home, trailer, camping, car, tent, or other similar temporary or mobile structure.
So in the beginning where it says living quarters, it should be living quarters for one family.
Family unit.
For
Your
one
family unit.
family unit, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And then we could change family to match Brookhaven's.
Okay. So dwelling one family is a detached building designed for and occupied exclusively by one family, I'm just gonna do that, one family unit. Just bringing in, take out. Okay, fence. The old one is a woven wire fence or fence, this is one of these definitions where they just put, a woven wire fence or a fence having open spaces the same width as and between each of the pickets, slats, or other materials used in construction unless otherwise permitted by the Board of Appeals as herein after provided. So I changed it, this is the definition, I think it was Brooklyn. Fence, a structure functioning as a boundary or barrier of indeterminate length but ordinarily not exceeding a height of 5 feet.
Right.
Okay. But don't we want 4 feet or do we want 5 feet?
You have two, there's 6 feet in specific instance and 4 in the others, and 3 on a corner.
Okay,
It's,
I would just put, I would take out the thing about 5 feet.
I got one that's 6 foot right at where do I do?
a structure functioning as a boundary or barrier of indeterminate length.
That's good.
All right,
No, okay.
okay. I just changed the grammar of detached garage, that was really isn't. Detached garage, well, maybe I did. All right, detached garage, this is what it was. A private garage not attached to a principal structure for the storage of one or more power-driven vehicles used by the owners, parenthesis, or tenants, parenthesis, of the lot on which it is erected, shall be regulated on this chapter as an accessory building. So I changed it to a private structure not attached to a principal structure, constructed for the storage of one or more power-driven vehicles used by the owner, parenthesis, or tenants, parenthesis, on the lot on which it is erected, and which shall be regulated under this chapter as an accessory building. It's just changing it
Okay,
around.
that's fine.
Garage private. This was also grammatical, I didn't change the effect of it. It was a private garage attached to a principal structure, an accessory building, structure, comma, an accessory building, comma, not more than 1 story in height, comma, for the storage of one or more power-driven vehicles used by the owner, or tenants, of the lot on which it is erected. A private garage is permitted only on the same lot upon which a valid permitted principal use exists. So, just to make it more digestible, I changed it to this. A private structure not more than 1 story in height, which is attached to a principal structure and constructed for the storage of one or more power-driven vehicles used by the owner or tenants of the lot on which it is erected. New sentence, a private garage is considered to be an accessory building and is permitted only on the same lot upon which a valid permitted principal use exists.
So,
Same thing, just grammatically.
so one is private garage and one is a regular garage?
Garage detached, garage private. I didn't.
And what was the other definition, the first one that you read before this, garage?
Detached, garage, comma, detached.
There's no, so I would just take out private, there's no definite, I don't know why private would be in there, garage is a garage. In both cases, they can't be on a lot they cannot be on a lot that doesn't have a principal residence.
Okay,
So we don't need, we just read the first definition and we don't.
so we have garage detached and we take out private. Okay,
just
Yes,
attached or detached.
it's either one. You don't need a separate definition for detached.
okay. All right, this one, because I mentioned it last time, is, I don't have an answer for it, I'm just pointing it out and then you can decide. There are 4 synonyms: pier, wharf, and dock. And in our new law on docks and wharves, we have a definition of dock, but we don't have a definition of wharf. Doesn't appear anywhere in the code. So here, they have, you come to pier, and the pier, I don't think I changed. Pier recreational, that's what's in our code. We don't have a definition in this, at least in this section, 183, for pier. It's pier recreational. So now, in our new code, we have pier, I think, village dock. We use the term dock, we hardly use the word pier.
Mhm.
So, in this one, when you get to pier, this is the existing one. It's pier recreation, it's real long, I'm not gonna read it. Recreational piers may be open, pile supported, float supported, cantilever, it's a long thing. So, my recommendation is, we just have pier, and we say, any constructed platform extending from shore over the water and supported by piles or pillars used to secure, shelter, and provide access to vessels. I took that from, I think, paper, the city. So my recommendation is to take out recreational, because in our new chapter, we define that, but we don't define wharf anywhere. So when we get to dock, I said see pier. No, what did I do? I take that out. Yeah. For docks, I said see pier. And then I read you what my recommendation is for pier, and then for wharf, I put it in there, because it doesn't appear anyway, I just said see pier also. So,
Maybe we can come up with something else for wharf. I think that wharf is a verb. Wharf is what you do at a dock. I think it's a
I
verb.
thought this bark.
Wharf. But we'll look at it. I'll look at it.
All right. Okay, well, anyway, so that's one thing that, I'll go over whatever you want to say. Sign. We have a separate chapter on signs. It's called advertising or something like that.
Yeah.
So, for sign, it's in here, but I just changed the wording a little bit. I added political, maybe I can read it, it's not long, so let me read it to you. All right, this is the existing definition. Sign, any device for visual communication which is used for the purpose of bringing the subject thereof to the attention of the public, and including any badge or insignia of any municipal agency or any civic, charitable, religious, patriotic, or fraternal or similar organization. So I just said an assembly, any device for visual communication which is used for the purpose of bringing the subject thereof to the attention of the public, and including any badge or insignia. Now, why do you keep that word? I don't even know what that is.
Insignia.
It's synonymous with insignia?
It's a badge.
Like a logo?
Insignia is a badge.
But it's not a word that's well used. I mean, if you're talking about a logo or something, should I can change it. I don't know. Anyway, of any commercial enterprise, I added that, because we say that, we have had that in the bill. We don't want people advertising.
You need to define a couple different types of signs, so that you start off by defining what's protected by, the type of sign that's protected by free speech, then that's different from a commercial sign. So I would define the first one that you
Well,
said.
But you're really talking about the whole, getting into the whole chapter on advertising, which is 32, it's just a whole separate chapter. So, and I think you're right, we need to take a look at that, because it's very brief. And it was done in 1932. It's never been changed since then, so we do that. So for 183, I just think that we need to define what a sign is. And then in the other one, we'll get it, because they have size things, you know. So, clearly a commercial signage would be a sign, right?
The commercial sign is a sign,
It's a
yes.
sign,
But
okay.
it's, you could regulate a commercial sign.
But with that, in the 183 on the definitions, I'm just saying what it is. What is a sign?
Excuse me a second, sorry.
Recollect.
Good night, sorry.
Do we want to confer on this later or something? I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, have a chance to look at it.
It's an hour discussion.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll skip over that.
Sorry.
Structure, this I've gone over a million times. I changed it to an assembly of materials put together for the purpose of occupancy. Again, this is for 183, which is a specific thing related to building. An assembly of materials put together for the purpose of occupancy or other specific use. The word structure shall be used as though followed by the words or part thereof. The other one, I gotta read through this. This is the existing definition of structure. A combination of materials other than a building forming a construction that is safe and stable and includes, among other things, either permanent or temporary stadiums, gospel and circus tents, house trailers, reviewing stands, platforms, docks, bathhouses, staging, poles, stacks, observation towers, swimming pools, sheds, coal bins, walls, satellite dishes, microwave dishes, fences over 5 feet in height, and signs, semicolon, the word structure shall be constructed as the following words will plug thereof. So, just get rid of all that and just keep it as what it is, okay? Wharf I mentioned, and that's it. So I'll do the ones you changed, and you wanted to look at, I mean, you agreed to them, the ones that you wanted to look at, maybe I'll send it over to you.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm done. So Dee had to leave, Dee and Rich had something that they had to do, so I'll just finish up now. Okay, review changes to local law 50.
Okay, here's, I went through local law 50 and I made it like a law, Jeff had done basically the guts of local law 50, and I went through it and turned it into a local law and made some minor tweaking. This is the red line version, which is pretty much undecipherable, because whenever you change a margin or anything, it makes it like a change. So even though there wasn't a change, it looks like it. So and here's a clean version of that.
Oh, so this is like,
So, yeah.
rough.
That shows you what was changed.
Okay, all right.
So do we need this?
You might
Just
want
wanna
to
see what was
just to see
changed.
what was changed, if I changed the words.
I had these in my second. So, my thinking on this is that we're gonna just look it over, and then next week, next meeting, we'll,
Probably vote on that. If you let me know, if you send me an email with any comments that you have, I can make the changes.
well, I don't think we had a hearing.
We'll have a public hearing, yeah. the next-
So, can we do that? Can we schedule a public hearing based on, unless, I mean, why don't we take like a couple days?
Yeah, let me get a chance
If
to
there's
review
any
it.
problem, get to Joe, but otherwise, Joe, if you want to wait a week or so, and we'll schedule a hearing. I don't think there's anything controversial in this.
No, I think that this is actually coming together now.
Okay, and then lastly, open items for the board to receive from the attorney.
So we have a couple things going on. Well, basically, we are inundated with FOILs at this point, FOIL requests, and it's nonstop. We have, people that work in the village are spending large block, are being forced to spend large amounts of their time every day to just responding to FOIL requests. My recommendation is going to be, I'm going to check this with the, research this, but I think I'm going to make a recommendation that we adopt a policy that the employees of the village spend no more than 10% of their time every day to responding to FOIL requests. And the people that are making if somebody makes a request, we'll address it as soon as we can, but the people that are making, basically inundating us with requests at this point, that what they're gonna incur is just having the response pushed out. Because we can't shut everything down. We're not required to, and we cannot shut everything down to deal with this, so. I'm gonna draft the policy, and then it's up to you how you want to handle it.
What is the recourse of a resident who seeks a FOIL request and feels the delay is beyond what is deemed in the law? What recourse do they have if they feel like they're not getting their request in a timely fashion?
Well, they if they want, they could, I guess they could consider it, they have the choice of waiting or questioning whether or not is a denial, whether or not the delay is a denial in itself, and that would be by going to court. They would they would ask a judge to look at it and see to give an interpretation.
And is there a precedent set that would support the village's decision to meter out time in this way? Is this something that?
Well, I think that there's a couple things. So I think that there is a regulation. I don't quote me on this, but more or less it's If to respond to a particular request requires more than 2 hours of time or more than 10% of a day's time, for a particular employee, then you can charge the person's time that's necessary to respond. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is we're just getting so many requests from one or two people that it's just backing everything up. So I don't think in that case, that where people have, 10, 15 requests here, I don't think that pushing it out because we just can't deal with it is a denial, would be considered a denial.
So you're saying we're on solid legal now?
Yes.
I mean, we have to do something.
Yeah, we are, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, we can't push it off till 2020, but we could, I think it's reasonable to, as long as we're addressing something that they, we can't just put off everything that they requested, but as long as we are keep, some forward progress on the request that they've made, I think that that's reasonable and that would be upheld.
Internally, are we legally on solid grounds to differentiate, to say, well, this person just sent in one request for something related to their closing in the house or something, or legal thing, and this one is repetitively asking for anything and everything just to drum up the works or something like that? I mean, do you get into an issue, a legal claim against us in some way?
Well, with the person that has, they're not coming up the works, but they're inundating us if there is a person that's inundating us with FOIL requests, I think it would be the same thing that I said before, as long as you have some forward progress on some of their requests, to show good faith in responding, then you would be okay.
Okay, so.
And if in the meantime.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, when
Yeah.
you say some request, so, we're not gonna just shut any one person down, but we're
No,
gonna
we
say,
can't-
look, we can only handle this many of you because we have this one and this one and this one, to also kind of spread around in some way.
Right.
Okay.
But, in the meantime, if somebody comes in, they need a copy of their CFO or something, or, something else, then they should get it, it shouldn't be held.
Yeah. That sounds good. Okay, anybody have anything else?
Yeah, there's more stuff here, CBA.
You gave it for her?
Right, so,
Oh, you know what, she added something, I don't have that.
So I guess with, I don't know if we've had a meeting since then, but the planning board had a public hearing on the design of the dock. And at that meeting, there was, what's gonna happen here, since the village is the applicant, I represent the village, the planning board will need another attorney for purposes of reviewing the application. So I think that we're gonna need to appoint an attorney for that purpose. And I think the recommendation was that it's Middleton, Campbell, whatever that law firm is, I'm sorry, I apologize, I don't know the name. It's Scott, it's what? Campbell Middleton, for that particular item, yes. Right. And that would be just for that particular item.
Can't follow Middleton and McCormick.
But then,
Do we need to vote on this today?
tonight, yeah, in the meeting. And then with regard to, I have a general thing here with litigation, so there's the case that's pending against the ZBA. Ashley Holmes versus the Village of Poquott is still pending, we're waiting for a decision from the judge. I don't expect that for, it may not come for another few months. It could come at any time, may not come for a couple months. We have other things that are going on, building department matters, that probably now are going to require Supreme Court action. I don't have a specific recommendation tonight, but probably we may need either a special meeting, or we may, by the next meeting, I probably will be asking you to authorize Supreme Court litigation for one or two of the building department matters that are pending.
Clearly, this is gonna go into the next fiscal year, so, the related issue is preparing the budget right now, so have you had any discussion with Dee about any of that?
Not other than I was gonna make, that I might be
Because,
making this recommendation.
I mean, it just sounds like this is going to really you're gonna have some serious legal, after all this, legal action.
Well, what, if I handle it, it's probably not gonna, you know, it's the same thing, I'll do, you know, I'll, do it as efficiently as I can. But I may not be the person that's, you know, one or more.
Can you just explain to me, I'm sorry, why is it a Supreme Court matter, or why is the application, why is
Because
that
we
something
had-
we specially approved?
Right, so we hit, there's a point, there's only so much that this court can do, the village justice court, so the village justice court can't tell somebody, they can say, okay, you're guilty, you have to pay a fine, right, or you're not guilty. You're not guilty, or you're guilty, pay a fine, but they can't tell somebody to stop doing something. They can't order somebody to let the building inspector into their house. Only a Supreme Court judge can do that. So the kinds of things that you go to Supreme Court for generally are, if you have an illegal condition that you want, illegal use or condition that you want to stop, then you go to Supreme Court and ask the judge to stop it. Or if the homeowner's not cooperating with, it's requests for inspections or, you know, things like that, then you have to go to Supreme Court.
Okay.
So the one resolution that we'll have coming up at the open meeting is to cover that, just by voting to retain that. That'll cover all those. Just resolution Ken Paul and Middleton McCormick, to represent the village.
I think that's for the ZBA thing, I don't think that's for the Supreme Court.
No, it's still.
Oh,
Okay, you want to adjourn the work session, gentlemen?
Just make sure we're done. Yeah.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
You want to go right through it? Or you wanna-
Yeah, I just want to put that.